because of the draft we saw from RRR. It was very intelligent, very much expecting the first pick Greymane, then very much countering it, removing the good supports for the Greymane, forcing them into double DPS, and forcing them into Genji on a map where his wave clear is so bad that it's just not a good situation for them. So I feel like RRR played very intelligently from the draft, played safely in the early game, and the win is no surprise when we look at those drafts. And I hope Mighty can figure out how to kind of fix it, quote unquote, going into the rest of this series.
Yeah, especially on Spider Queen, the wave clear is very important. And we saw Genji pushing for like 40 seconds along with the Web Weaver, and he was still very slow because of that potential. And again, RRR picking the map. Infernal Shrines game number 2, guys. And this one, with the nerfs onto Kerrigan, we will basically not see her, or at least a lot less with the nerfs coming in. But still, we see a lot of supports ban, Auriel ban, Uther ban. Let's see if RRR chooses to keep that pattern against Mighty tonight.
I'm hoping we see some more Leoric, and he was absent from Tomb of the Spider Queen, but I think that's because of how the draft went overall. And RRR didn't need him. They wanted the Arthas instead because he's strong against the Greymane. And because Mighty went down the path they didn't have a solo laner. It doesn't matter as much on Tomb of the Spider Queen, but they didn't get any extra pushing power, which is something that is so, I feel like, underrated across the world. Is even if you think, well, Tomb of the Spider Queen solo laner, what's that? Why would I have that? It's always good to be able to have a hero that can pressure a lane,
yeah,
force
we used
a
to
response.
have lots of Zools, even in Spider Queen happening.
So Mighty will have first ban, obviously. And let's see what they try to grab first. They take the Greymane first again. Would be very telling as to how they're approaching this draft, but I think what they could do is try to ban the Tassadar and go into the Greymane first pick. Could be a different approach, where you don't allow the hyper carry double support to the team that's going to take the Vala instead. At least not in terms of how Tassadar actually is better than most healers, traditional healers with the Vala, because of the lifesteal. It'll be Uther though.
Let's see. Uther not used too many times from Tekaluk, or even from MSG. Well, 3 and 3 for both of them. But Mighty does not really use too much Uther. They used to prefer Auriel and Rrr especially. So I think banning it is an okay choice, but from the first ban, it's a little questioning for me.
Well, I think we shouldn't question it yet until it's definitely a weird one, but let's see. I'm sure the answers become clear after their first pick. Tassadar ban here means that if this Tassadar ban is saying, well, you can't really take Auriel reasonably, can you, in this next move? And you also won't have Tassadar available. So I think this means RRR is leading towards a tank-based draft. They lock it in. Will Mighty just pick the Auriel anyways? Or are they going to go down the Genji route? Because Genji is available, but he is dropping like a fly right now. He's dropping like a stone down to the priority because he just doesn't have good wave clear. He's been countered so many times.
And in game 1, Mighty picked Greymane over Genji.
They take Auriel anyways.
Okay, for flex, because Tassadar is out. And burst healing, AoE healing is, of course, a very good thing when you're fighting in the shrine, because you're oftentimes stuck together. The burst healing can help you greatly, especially when you have the double support.
What if they just take Rrr Uther? I think that's really strong still.
Uther's banned.
Or sorry, Rrr Greymane, I meant.
That's an okay choice. MSG would love to play Greymane.
Yeah, they would never take Rrr Uther no matter what. Like, definitely the Rrr Greymane, I mean.
Or even No Duck.
So let's see if they want to take that. Greymane just seems to be so important right now. Everyone is focused on the DPS, the hyper carry. He seems to be the top tier, best wave clear. most mobility. And we're going to see both wolves. No, the Abathur. Unusual.
Little unusual.
Usually only taken in first rotation when you have first ban, or taken in first rotation with a melee assassin.
Avatar was played by Kong twice, only twice. And I believe once was cursed and once I do not know. But not in Infernal Shrines, I believe. Maybe this time RRR is trying to keep their hyper carry mode. But what if Mighty takes Vala? Do they have Lunara ready for the counter?
This is kind of a weird. This is not what we were seeing yesterday. This is not something that kind of goes into the theme of what we were talking about with Greymane rising to the top and the 2-2-1 compositions. Illidan is taken immediately because he pairs well with Ariel. They have Tyrael available, and now, or if they were considering the Illidan pick, they don't have that anymore as one of the best heroes that goes with Illidan. Usually on Cursed Hollow, like you were saying with the Abathur, but it just feels like Mighty is countering what RRR was planning on doing. And it feels like this time, a little bit oppositely of last time, Mighty is kind of leading and dictating this draft. Adao, what do you bad? You know, maybe a Li Ming. Li Ming very strong with the Illidan.
Just the ranged. I think even with Illidan, you can still have Vala. She can come in along with the Tyrael.
More worried about the Lunara Ariel though. So, was range. Not the one we expected. Zeratul was bad because he's the second best hero besides Illidan paired with Abathur as a melee assassin. And when you see the Rhaegar come in like that with the Abathur, you know that that's what RRR is looking for. That's why they picked the Illidan. I mean, otherwise because he pairs well with Ariel and they had Tyrael available, but it was halfway as well to delay or deny that from RRR. So now RRR doesn't have a good Abathur target unless they want to go down like a Chen route or something like that.
I thought the most expected ban was to be Arthas. But 0-2 is a little... I'm guessing it's what they have of the data, 0-2, which RRR did not play too many. Maybe they were practicing in scrims. Along with Avatar, of course, Avatar's hat on 0-2 can be a scary thing when it comes to solo laning.
Well, I think Leoric is also still a decent choice here, but the Arthas was the obvious one. Cassia for blinds. It's very old school. There's the Arthas. You called it. So Cassia will do a lot of damage, obviously, can really ruin Ariel's day getting into the back line, and the blinds onto Illidan just make him completely worthless for the time being.
And I think RRR, they still have a room open for a Genji. Maybe enough if they want to counter dive with another dive. Because they still do have Rhaegar, can provide ancestral healing when Genji is low. Not sure who's going to be on which hero. That's my concern a little bit. But Cassia Arthas is pretty good counter to the Illidan when they dive in. Tyrael also, I think Mighty needs to have another range. If only Illidan, it may be hard against Cassia and Arthas.
Kharazim, Gul'dan. Gul'dan is map specific, so famous for being a good pairing with Ariel, so not a big shocker here. Not the one that you and I wanted to call out right away because it still feels weird to see Gul'dan played, even though he is strong with this draft specifically. And now does the Genji make even more sense when you have the Gul'dan as the potential squishy target? Maybe, but other options could be, I know it sounds crazy, but the Garrosh pick is still available. Garrosh can help deal with the Illidan counter dive, can help pair with Arthas with the CCs together. Doesn't do well with Abathur that much, but I think Cassia already does decent there. And otherwise, you're really just looking for a secondary damage or a main tank. So Arthas is going to be your solo laner. It's a tough call.
Either EZZ or Kong can play Avatar, so I don't know which one. If they... Okay, seems like HGC will go on Avatar and Kong back on his old Anubarak.
So, not the pick that we expected, but there's so much different ways to lock down Illidan now. With the Impale, you could even cocoon him. You're more likely to cocoon the Ariel or the Tyrael. You can dive in to kill Gul'dan with this. It's a very multi-purpose hero. Feels like both teams are hyper dive. It's dive versus dive, and whoever has the better dive, whoever gets the first kills, will definitely win the day. The Gul'dan can be a great tool for the objective, but otherwise he's a liability because he is going to be the target. He is going to be the one who has to position himself perfectly to stay alive. Let's go into Infernal Shrines and see if he can do just that. RRR Oduk on Cassia, MSG on Rhaegar, HGC on Abathur, Kong actually on Arthas, and Tekaluk will be on the Anubarak. Interesting.
And in red, Mighty. Joker on Gul'dan, BDG on Illidan, Good on Tyrael, Nasang on Kerazim, and Magi on Ariel. Joker on Gul'dan. It is his first time, I believe, ever playing on Gul'dan.
Yep, definitely. He just became a DPS player / support player recently. So
there's not much CC on the other side. I think Tekaluk or the last spot for RRR, they were also considering ETC. But with Gul'dan on the other side with lots of spell damage, they brought in lots of spell armor and soaking in lots of damage. Could work, I think, along with the cocoon.
Didn't take the Dampen Magic level 1, decided to go down to the regen master instead to become more tanky and obviously have better regen rate. So a lot of globes on this map when you're roaming especially, and if you win the objective you will get 2 globes there. So a lot of different ways to look at this and say that regen master would be the better one. Lightning Bond is going to work really well with this dive too. The reason why Rhaegar is so great with this, not to mention his burst heal, which is good on any target except Abathur in this composition.
Yes.
But it also could be good on an Abathur clone. So the comp is really good for what it's designed to do. BDG could be in trouble here. He's going to struggle in that soul lane because it's not really a soul lane with Abathur out there. Okay, here's what we're talking about, diving onto Joker. And you have to question, you know, against a very technical dive comp, even though he's a great battery for Ariel.
Overextends a little bit, dodges the CC and heals just enough to save himself. Wow.
But you have to question when someone who's never played the hero in a match before, in a match that Mighty is supposed to win 3-0, they're already down 0-1, that you would put Joker on the Gul'dan. It's such a risk, and he is going to have to be positioning better than he was there. Sure, they didn't get the kill, but it forced 2 heroes to have to essentially tap or hearth home, which meant they lost control of the shrine. We're going to go over and contest it now. This Joker is just so good at actually stealing these last hits. But these are concerns. Illidan is split pushing against the Abathur in top, so countering that rotation very well. Good detainment strike here is actually going to cause Tekaluk to have to retreat. Joker does barely get the heal here. And yet again, this is going to have to be a retreat for RRR. Kong, it's another double. He's going to have to back off.
The sustain is insane for Mighty. For
both sides, really.
Joker almost died like 5 times in that fight.
Yeah.
Healing was just continuously coming in with the drain from himself. Kong's going to die first.
They want to make this a trade. They will. And look at all the CC coming out here. It is going to be a double on the side of Mighty. Make that a triple. Because I think that Kong really misunderstood how much he was going to be able to accomplish there.
This entire time it was basically 5v4.
Yep.
Because Abathur's hat was on Kong oftentimes when he was low. He went in for the trade, but was that a good thing when BDG was pushing this the entire time? And after that, they lost the entire team fight.
They're also going to lose the Punisher. Tekaluk is trying to steal it back, but anyone will tell him that was not going to work. Was really just trying to delay it so that the rest of his team could respawn. Gonna just be the Punisher now moving in. Does get bugged for a second. Very lucky for RRR. Now, this game is not lost by any means at this moment. It's definitely not going to be a happy transition for RRR, though.
This guy's got stunned and flamed, and man, those John Cena punches are insane. Not get the fort, but getting a kill I think was pretty significant there. If they get another kill on top. Okay, that was close.
Starting to fall apart though for RRR. Mighty controlling the top lane now super hard. And this bot lane, they lose the fort that they were defending. In fact, they might even lose Kong up here. Very close call. The minions are still there. I think BDG might have been able to fight for that one. He takes the safer route instead. If he had 10, that would have definitely been a kill.
Is Kong baiting Illidan from diving in? No, there is no one to save. Rrr just came in time because he has to Hearth Home. If he goes low, I think he should have Hearth Home a lot earlier so he could come back earlier. Not really wasting too much time there.
No, this means that MSG has to be up here with the Aperture Hat, which is why Mighty's able to steal this camp. And now they can just go take their own. We're going to see the solo camp for
Kong.
Joker. He's going to start it anyways.
Kong often makes those kind of risky decisions and costs his life. I think he's still staying the same. Okay, this is a great approach coming out.
Oh, nice juke though with the Aldruins. They didn't see it, I guess. They definitely left somebody back there.
Nicely done.
And Mighty escapes with Tyrael, gets the bot camp. Will be able to take the red side camp in just a moment. And yeah, Kong just making a few interesting decisions, not only in the top lane, but also in the fight for the Shrine. Just committing in there with about 15%, 20% health max there when he went in for the fight. Try to help those picks trade down, but when you're fighting against a comp that will snowball when it starts to win with Illidan and Gul'dan, you just can't do that to try to get a trade, because the trade will mean that you lose everybody. Now Mighty has level 10. It is going to be the hunt, despite the everyone feeling the hatred of 100 seconds on that one. It's still going to be very powerful here.
That's right, the increased cooldown on the hunt. It changed somewhat, but still, the fact of having a global like this, I think it's still about the same. It does affect a little bit, but not too much. Kong gets trapped again, getting so much damage from Nasang, and Joker, Horrified comes, but nice cleanse in time.
Yep. Very well done. But still, this is a lost battle for RRR. They can't do anything here because they don't have 10. This means Illidan could solo the Shrine, which he's doing very quickly
and
up there.
Soon up with the camp, that Punisher will be going directly to the keep if RRR does not hit 10 by that time. I don't think they will.
RRR cannot be trying to force this fight.
So behind, MSG gets so much damage. Tekkaluga is trying to save.
The Sentry Cannon Tower didn't even have health. Taking this fight was unreasonable, unrealistic. And more than just a pipe dream, man. It was just out of control. It was uncalled for that they would even try to fight that. It's not to say that they should just concede the game and wait to die with all these camps, but because of the decisions you were talking about Kong made in the top lane, which forced the rotation over from Rrr, meant they lost every camp on the map, every single one, as Illidan takes the last one right now as we speak. That meant that this mid lane got the strong push, which allowed Illidan to take the top camp, and they just didn't have 10. And losing a member makes it even worse, as they are trying desperately to soak for 10. If they can keep their keeps alive, there is a window back into this game, but they have to keep the keeps alive. All three of them need to survive this
Mighty
somehow.
will be hitting 13 when RRR hits 10. Even with a Cocoon, so much protection. I don't even know where the Cocoon should be on. Oftentimes it was Auriel when there was solo support, but when there is Charism and also Sanctification, I don't even know which target you should Cocoon at the perfect timing. It'll be all up to Tekkaluga to make the decision.
I think it has to be Tyrael most of the time. Sometimes maybe Auriel, because if you remove Auriel, the support healing, it gets half, but there's still a decent amount of healing. But I think Tyrael is the best target. He's also going to give everyone movement speed, which is going to really hinder a lot of things. So that was not the best Valkyrie we've ever seen. Like when I saw that, I was like, wait, what is that? And I was like, oh my god, that actually just happened. Well, that's not going to be what saves them, that is for sure. As they, with the siege comp that they have with Gul'dan, and obviously the decent wave code they have with Magi here, they're literally just going to try to siege this up with the siege camp. The Impalers are poking. The sentry cannon tower is out of ammo.
Nice positioning from Kong, but it's pushed away for now. And Illidan is still pushing. Avatar may also die if he doesn't focus.
Okay, Horrify here going in too onto Cassia. Joker is in a risky spot. Does get the heals from Nasong, and oh, this could be a disaster. Ancestral does go off here, but Kong is already dead.
Clone is helping, but not too much because the damage is insane with Illidan joining into the fight. And this will be a wipe coming out. Good goes very low, but heals come in. Pidgey takes the clone out, and this will be a keep, and they may actually get more than a single keep.
Well, the top one was split pushed down the keep wall. They didn't actually take any of the keep damage, even though that lane is pushed. They're just going to go ahead and take the active shrine here and probably the red side camps because those are available. And RRR can slowly try to transition over, but now they've got the lane pressure deal with the top, mid, and it just feels lose-lose for them. They're down 3 levels in scaling. It's a small chance. Feels larger every second. That Mighty gets the double talent here advantage, 16 to 12. These are just things that RR can't do anything about. They're trying to desperately soak top. Can't invade this. They can't fight this.
I think they have to relieve the pressure on top. That's important. The mid one is less concerning than losing the top keep and the bottom keep because it's a lot easier to get to. But I believe BDG was staying on that keep for a while. I think it's severely damaged, the top keep for RRR. And if this Punisher takes down the bottom keep, they will basically lose all 3. And another Valkyrie.
That Valkyrie, I think, was trying to hit Illidan. I'm not sure.
Which is a tough target to hit. And that was a risk and wasted again.
Hunt being used now. MSG is way into the back lines. Gul'dan is actually split pushing with the Punisher right now. Mighty knows they can disengage here.
I think that's a good idea, honestly.
They have so much mobility.
They have to use Cocoon now. Has to focus. Gul'dan comes in time.
Gonna come in.
There's Horrify. Ancestral does connect onto Odak. They do have damage, but Sanctification drop in there. The Aegis doing tons of damage too.
Not a single Cocoon has been used in this fight, and that is going to cause them to lose it. Was he going to use it now? I hope not. That's going to be the full wipe. 4 down. Punisher, which was split push there with Gul'dan, will take out the second keep, but they're not interested in the keep. They're interested in the core. Even though they don't have Sanctification, the respawn timers are just going to be a little bit too late here, and Mighty is going to tie this series up 1-1. They had the better draft in this one, you could argue, at least much better than in game number 1. The execution was better, and that is going to be it. We're tied up 1-1. Feels like Kong was a victim of his own positioning. We did not see any good Cocoons on the Tyrael, even though the Tyrael Sanks were going to be the obvious way that fight was turned. You and I are yelling at the screen practically, waiting for the Cocoon, and it just never happens. It never comes. The Sank turns that fight. They win it, and they win the game.
From the beginning, I was asking which target the Cocoon was going to be the best on, and I think that was the biggest problem. He couldn't really decide which target he has to go for all the time. And starting, of course, not really starting the team fight, but Valkyrie not hitting any target in that game was a big one. I think they were trying to pick one off along with the Cocoon, maybe just drag one in, Cocoon the other one, make sure the Tyrael doesn't come in with the Sanctification, or Ariel to save in time. Never really landed on any target, and by that time they were snowballed so hard, their keep was down, and that's game 2.
Yeah, I mean, the Abathur pick didn't do much for them. They picked it really early, and then Illidan was removed from them. I think they wanted to go Zeratul. That was removed from them. And then was Abathur mostly on the Arthas. And
yeah, Kong oftentimes.
So the draft didn't go where they wanted it to go. Kong's position was not the greatest. The Tekaluk Anubrok play, I think, was supposed to be... Kong was supposed to be playing Anubrok. For some reason, he wasn't. And I can't make the argument for Kong's a great Arthas because that's why, and then his Arthas wasn't very good, so it was a bit of a messy game. The draft didn't go their way, and I think they kind of panicked into who should play what and how the whole game went out. Illidan split pushing the top lane, etc. But they have time to refresh themselves. We're tied up 1-1. The series is definitely not over. They're going to take a quick break, as are we, and we'll come back with game number 3.